Now then, welcome back to another episode on the Botania playthrough. This graphic is pretty cool. I've just been watching it a little bit. I put a load of more of these blooms around, and the day blooms. I was just checking to see how close they had to be to one of these blocks here. These mana spreaders. Just checking out how close to the mana spreaders they would work. And it seems to be quite a distance that they gather from. These guys here, because they're floating up into the air, the mana's obviously not going into the mana spreader. So let's have a little look. So, it doesn't tell you in the Lexion how far the mana spreader will go for. How far it will grab. Will face one of 16 directions, blah blah blah. Yeah. Get filled with nearby generating flowers. This buffer is looted at by looking at the spreader with a mana 1, demonstrated on the last page. Note the block needs to be right-clicked with a 1 to get an accurate, adequate values. Okay. Holding the wand displays the beams which show where the spreader is pointing. Yeah. Hovering over it shows the target. That's good. The target of the spreader block is a block that can contain mana. If it isn't full, the spreader will fire a mana burst which will travel to the target and pass the mana along to it. Yep. The spreader only fires one burst at a time. It'll only fire another one when the last one hits the target. Furthermore, the bursts also after a small amount of time suffering mana loss. This can be seen in the beam. And it happens a lot. It gets thinner. Okay, we saw that. And that's how you made the mana spreader. In order to upgrade the potential for the spreader, you can apply mana lenses. Very few basic mana lenses that does nothing. Lenses can all be dyed the 16 colours of the spectrum, and combined with a mana pearl can create a rainbow lens. These will change the colour of the burst. Okay, that's a basic lens. Mana steel and mana lens can be dyed. Okay, yeah. And mana pearl, mana lens makes a rainbow tinted lens. So after you've got ender pearls, you can move on to that stage. Pretty cool. But it doesn't show in there how far away it is. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 blocks away from it. So it only takes the mana from day blooms 6 blocks away from it. We'll get rid of those. And let's just make a large field 6 blocks away so that we've got plenty of mana going. These ones here aren't doing it either. So it may well be that it's a pattern like a circle. That one in theory would also not work. That one's not working. That one's not working. That one's not working. Those ones aren't working. Okay, well, we're discovering, we're learning, we're figuring it out. And there. So these shouldn't be doing it anyway, because these are more than 6 blocks away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That one's working, but the other ones around it are not. So that's not being absorbed, that's not being absorbed, that's not being absorbed. Those ones are not being absorbed. Okay. Figure this out. That one would not be, would it? So these ones are. Those ones are in the square that way. Okay, so that's 4, 5, 6. The 7th should not. Let's spam these in. This would be an awfully long process to get a maximum mana pool like this. Because each one of these, the crafting recipe is quite extensive. It doesn't show up in any eye either. The crafting recipe for a day bloom, in case you didn't notice last episode, generating for a day bloom, the crafting recipe requires you to have found at least 1 yellow flower and 1 orange flower and 1 blue flower to make each day bloom. So out in the world I've seen a little spread of a few flowers that are brought back, and I didn't have that many. So that one's not working, that one's not working, it's not working, it's not working. Any of these that aren't working we'll take out so we can see the rough pattern and have an idea. So it's fairly circular. The pattern will end up being fairly circular. Yeah, fairly circular. So I wonder if we put some in front of the beam, will that affect the beam? Is it blocking the beam now? Has it got to be an unobstructed beam? There's unobstructed beam. Obstructed beam. Let's see. Does it? It's going as far as the day bloom. It's getting blocked by the day bloom. Okay, so the mana spreader needs an unobstructed line of sight in order to do what it needs to do. Okay. Okay, well we know that now. So the theory there is sorted. And these are all... Well, do I need to do this or was it automatically going to do it for me? Seems I have to check all the ones I've placed to be able to see what's going on inside them. Unknown statuses. Yeah, well, we've done that now. Okay, so how is the mana pool looking? Very, very slight. Very slight indeed. So that's going to take a lot. That's like quite a lot of flowers that you're going to have to generate in order to make those day blooms. And then they don't generate a lot of power to fill your mana pool. Hi guy, how you doing? Alright. So, let's have a look what's next. So, the End of Flame was another one. While the day bloom is all well and good, the botanist required a more effective means of generating mana. Indeed I do. The Endo Flame does that exactly. It will absorb any combustible items or blocks dropped in the nearby vicinity. Absorb any combustible items or blocks dropped in the nearby vicinity, albeit one at a time, and burn through them, passively generating mana while the fuel lasts. Okay. So this is not Nitor, according to that Endo Flame. We need mana petals for these ones. So we're going to have to discover the mana petals first, aren't we? Functional flora, they needed mana petals as well. So the runic altar, did that tell us how to make mana petals? That's a rune. This is how you make the runes. Okay. Yep, we can make runes. Okay, yep. Lots of different coloured runes. We've got all of the different things that we need there. That's advanced craftings, because there's all sorts of bits and pieces in there. Right, so... Petal Apothecary. Does that tell us how to make the mana ones? No, that didn't either, did it? Natural apparatus. No, we didn't have anything in those few selections there. Mana pool. I'm pretty sure we just put petals in a mana pool. That's it. So now I've got the mana, I'm going to use the mana to make the petals to make the better mana manipulation. Okay, so let's get rid of those. Let's have a look in here. Right, so this is all we got so far. Let's just make a few mana petals and see how much this actually puts in. So I've got a bit of mana in there. Let's throw a white petal in. It just comes back instantly, okay. And it doesn't really give you a value of how much that did. Okay. So now I've got some of these mana petals. And I presume that I've got to use the right colours. Mana's gone quite far down now, though. Let's work on making this generating flora, the Endo Flame. Let's work on getting that ready. So, red. So I need a red petal and a mana red, brown mana and a normal brown. So I need a grey as well. So I need a red and a brown. Okay, so we get 2 brown. We need those. 2 brown and 2 red, and also a grey. So I have a grey, and again these would take quite some time to fetch up in the world. Not going to be easy to get these things sorted. Not easy at all. So I'm going to need... Get off my mana pool, you. Or I'll have to kill you. So we'll get one of those and one of those, right? Then come back over to this pool over here. Get our bucket out. And get our water. Put the water... I'm in creative, that didn't work. Let's get the bucket, put it with water, put it in there, right? And now we need a normal brown, a mystical brown. We need those and the grey. Let's double check before we go. Yeah, so mana red, normal brown, mana brown, and a light grey. So let's go. Let's pop that into there, that into there, that into there. Like so. And then we need seeds. I've thrown all my seeds away while I'm creative. There we go. Right, seeds. You generate a lot of seeds while bone mealing to get all the flowers you need. Skeleton spawner will definitely be required in this, I should think. Right, so now we've got an Endo Flame. And I'm wondering if we can just put that next to that. Is that going to increase the mana? It might need something first. Let's throw a couple of wood down. They're consumables, combustibles. Oh, look, it's burning something. It's burning something. That's good. How long is it going to take, though? Oh, it's full, according to that. And how many have I picked up now? 3. So it managed to take 1 and burn it. And it doesn't transfer automatically. Okay, does it put it down afterwards? So now is that... That's empty again. So I'll throw it 1, and it'll burn that 1, I'm guessing. Yeah. Yeah, and it slowly but surely burns through it until it's full. That's cool. Okay. And then we're going to need another one of these. Okay, let's get creative. Get another mana spreader from here and pop that along there. So now that's also going to my mana pool. And how is that looking now? Still got all its mana in it. So how does that link to that? Let's check it up again. Okay, so the Endo Flame does that. The spreader... Yep. Which were filled by nearby generating flowers. This buffer can be viewed by the spreader of the wand. The block needs to be right-clicked with the wand to get accurate, adequate readings. So according to that, this should be already putting it into there. It's an adjacent generating block. Okay, so what's wrong with that then? Let's shift-click that. We'll absorb combustible items. Yeah, we did that. We dropped it nearby vicinity, burned them, passively generate mana while the fuel lasts. Okay. And then it shows you how to make them. Effective means of generating mana. Yep, okay. So we didn't manage to do it then. We didn't manage to get the spreader to pick up the energy. The buffer can be viewed by looking at that. Demonstrating last page. The block needs to be right-clicked with the wand to get accurate readings. Shows the beam. Target spreader of the block contains mana. Yep. A fire and mana burst along it. Yep. Spreader only fires once. Furthermore, bursts also, after a small amount of time, starts suffering mana loss. Yeah, well, we shouldn't be suffering any mana loss from the mana spreader. We can add lenses. I wonder if there needs to be a lens to set that up. Basic lens doesn't do anything, but then you take the basic lens and move it on to the next thing. Add some dye and you dye them, but they don't seem to do anything. And the rainbow lens needs the mana pearl. Okay. Well, I don't know why that is not pushing the energy from it into the mana spreader to put it into the mana pool. I don't understand what I've done wrong there. To take the mana from there and put it into that. I can't see that I've done anything out of the ordinary. This tells me that it takes from nearby generating flowers. Internal buffer which will get filled by nearby generating flowers. Right. And this is definitely a generating flower. Generating flower, that. Yes. So, I don't know. I do not know why that is not doing anything. So we're going to leave that and move on. This is slowly but surely getting day bloom power and transmitting that around. And that's in exactly the same sort of format. You would expect that these flowers and these flowers would be the same process. But that's still carrying all of its mana by the looks, and that is carrying none. Let's throw another item at it. Let's see if it burns another item up. Maybe that just has some form of buffer that isn't working. It's not even doing the burning now, is it? Let's take another one. Pop another one down here. So this is currently an empty one. This has got mana flowing above it as well, which means it may not be picked up by the spreader. Maybe you need to put the spreader down first. That's now burning it. That is now burning it up, but it's not filling up. Okay, it's now gone through the mana spreader. Ah, the mana spreader has got it. So, it's no good placing it, making it burn a combustible block and then expecting the mana spreader to take it. Unlike these, which will hold their own, as it were, and then the mana spreader can send it. This holds its own, but the mana spreader can't take it. It has to be generated while the spreader is there. So in this case, look, it will burn that up, and then it will spread the mana. It takes the mana, look, there we go. Sends bursts of the mana, it's taking the mana, and this is completely empty, whereas this one's still full. Right, okay. So we know something new there then. Okay. Let's pop down a few of these just for quickness. And see. Let's take some basic blocks like cobblestone. A cobblestone block will probably not work because it said combustible. So just throw a cobblestone in there and see nothing happens. Wood planks. Let's take a few wood planks now. These should. Yep. And it's taking it from that one over there. Interesting. So I'll pluck it over there. And it takes it by the closest one to the mana spreader. Okay. Doesn't make any odds at all, really, but you could just keep throwing these out. And presumably the nearest will still start sparking up. Yep. And the mana spreader fills up and then transfers the mana across to the mana pool, which is getting slightly fuller. It's nowhere near full, but it's getting slightly filled. It's not too bad once you understand the logic behind it. You could set up some form of automation for a dispenser just dropping your wood out. So I wonder if there would be different amounts of mana based on different item types. And this spreader's still technically got some mana that it's sending to the mana pool, and the mana pool's still taking a long time to fill. Generating mana is going to be slow going. Let's take a chest. Throw the chest in. Does the chest burn up by these? Yes, it does. Okay. Let's confirm that anything that is combustible does it. Mana spreader. The actual values of how much things are worth may be something that you'd have to look into a bit closer and try and figure out a bit more. If there were some actual values for the mana pool, like how much of how much, then that would be a good feature to have. So you could see I've got 100 of 6,000 or something like that. There may be that I just haven't discovered it yet. Is there a shift click on that? Is there anything I can press, a key press, to turn it on to tell me what I want? No, there isn't. Okay. Well, that's it for mana generation. That's it for mana generation. So, what's next? We've got the mana pool and we've got the mana spreader. The mana pool works with functional flora, which basically deals with other mobs to stop mobs doing stuff. So we're not going to look into that just yet. We'll make those at some other point. Let's have a look, see what else we've got. We've done the generating flora. These 3 sections are currently empty. Generating flora, we've tested out both now. Functional flora we'll test out in a future episode. Mana manipulation is pretty much what we've got to check out. See what these lenses do. And there's no other pages here, so the lens bore, what is it? The lens bore charges the mana burst with the ability to break any blocks it comes into contact with, draining its own mana to do so. Okay, so we can channel mana into a bore, which could potentially do mining for us. Okay, that's a Rune of Greed. Alright. Bounce. Allows the mana burst to bounce off walls rather than dissipating on collision. Okay. Damaging. Charges the lens with the power to damage any living beings it come across, draining its own mana to do so. Okay. Efficiency. Will decrease the amount of time it takes for the mana burst to start losing its mana. But when it happens, it does it so at a lot slower rate. Gravity makes a mana burst to be attracted by the world's gravity pull, thus movementing in an arc. For compensation, it also slightly increases the time before mana loss starts to happen. Okay. Potency will double the amount of mana a mana burst can carry. However, the beam will become slower after it starts to lose mana. It will have a lot faster rate. That sounds like something in potency. Double the amount of mana it can burst. Maybe something we can use. Resistance will significantly increase the amount of time mana burst can go without starting to lose its mana. Well, we're not having any problems with that right now. Velocity will drastically increase the speed at which the mana burst travels, and not only does the beam start to lose its mana a lot faster, it also carries a bit less. So I think we need to go with a potency one. So let's have a look how we make a potency one. We need a red fire rune and a mana lens. So, first off, the mana lens. We are going to need the basics altar. No, it wasn't the altar. It was in the mana pool section, and we are going to make some of those ingots. So we just need some iron. Right, so 4 iron ingots, or each iron ingot that goes into the pool turns into one of these magical ones. Okay, well there's 4. And that probably used quite a bit of mana. It doesn't seem to show that I've used a lot of mana though. Let's see. There's still quite a bit of mana in there. Okay. So the lens that we're looking for, let's go back into the potency lens. We're going to need a mana lens, which is back here. Where did we make the basic lens? That would be interesting to find it easier. Basics. No. Was it in the altar? We make mana lenses in the altar. That was a runic altar. We've got to test out that as well. They're runes. Okay, we use those on a runic altar. So in order to make the runes, we're going to need a runic altar. So let's do that now then. So runic altar requires a mana pearl. So this is like the basic setup that you can do before you get to the end. You're going to have to go to the end to get mana pearls in order to make mana pearls. Interesting, interesting. Let's get some ender pearls out of here. I'm not sure that we can do too much this episode to test this out. Theories and all that. So I'm going to get the required materials I need and see you next episode when we'll be making the next thing. Oh, have I run out of mana in there? Oh yeah, my mana pool ran out. 6 though, that's not too bad. I'm going to have to sort of AFK around here for a little bit before the next episode to get this mana pool filled up. I'll throw a load of combustibles over there to get that mana spreading as well. And I'll see you next episode where we'll try and upgrade these mana spreaders.